Hello nerds! Thank you for watching Generally Nerdy. This is The Week in Nerddom, your source for daily nerd news videos, and today being Monday, we're talking music. This week in music news, we've got Protest the Hero, AC/DC, and a Tekashi 6ix9ine update. And then we've got some stuff to review, so let's hit the intro and get to all of the fun. First thing on music this week, we are talking Protest the Hero, and if you remember, last year they were on tour and they had to cancel a handful of shows at the end of the tour because Rody's voice, he got polyps, I believe, and then he had to go get surgery. Well, he is still on the mend, but the band is finished, apparently, writing and recording a brand new record. The vocals for the record have not been finished, but Rody has begun work on them, so we will likely be seeing this record sometime this year. They updated all of the fans on their Facebook page, laying out all of this. Rody, it's slow going right now for his vocal recordings, but he has been given the approval to start working again, being, you know, with his voice. So again, we will likely be seeing this record sometime this year, though when is still uncertain because they don't know when Rody will be at full capacity. Also in the Facebook post, they said that on a track on the new record, they have a very special bass player, and anyone who's been listening to Protest for a while knows that it's likely their original bass player, Arif. And that's really cool, because Arif is a hell of a bass player. Only on one track, though. It's not something that I'm sure he's going to go on tour with them or anything for. But still really awesome. New Protest the Hero is on its way. 2019 is going to be a great year for music. Rammstein, Tool, Protest, Slipknot, so much is going on in music. But let's just keep on moving to AC/DC. This weird update, this AC/DC. First, it comes from an unusual source, and that unusual source is grindcore band Terrorizer. They posted, they just got done with a tour, so they were coming home, and they posted on their Facebook, which is the image you're seeing right here, that they ran into Brian Johnson in the airport and had time to have a conversation with Brian Johnson. And so not only did Brian Johnson let us know that yes, he is back in the band, he is back in AC/DC. If you'll remember, Brian Johnson also had to leave mid-tour last year and was replaced by Axl Rose, but Brian was because of his hearing issues and not because of his vocal issues. So Brian Johnson's back in the band, and they are recording new material. Now, it's entirely possible that the guys in Terrorizer saw some British dude who vaguely looked like Brian Johnson, and this guy just ran with it. Sure, that's possible, though it is still pretty awesome to think that we'll be getting some new AC/DC sometime soon. It's interesting to see what the young brothers can give us, and what Brian Johnson still has left in him, and just a really interesting prospect. And it's super unsubstantiated at the moment, so we'll hold our breath. And then our last bit of news for music this week is Tekashi 6ix9ine. We don't really talk about mumble rap on this channel, because I don't really like mumble rap. But this is an interesting update, so I figured it was newsworthy. Tekashi 6ix9ine, for those of you that don't know, was recently, well, relatively recently arrested for gun charges, weapons charges, racketeering charges, and previously he'd been in trouble for having an explicit video of an underage girl. That didn't get him in trouble, but the guns did, so something got him. But now it seems that he has struck a deal, which means a couple of things. First, he's going to plead guilty to 9 different felonies. Second, he has to pay $10,000, which to somebody of that status, $10,000 is pocket change. So $10,000 in restitution, and then we'll serve however long. I couldn't find an exact range, something along the lines of 10 years to 20 years or something like that. But also, now he's going to be known as a snitch. So not only did he make really mediocre music, but now he's going to be going to prison with a label. We probably won't be seeing Tekashi 6ix9ine ever again. So, yeah. Let's move on to the reviews, shall we? Before we move into the reviews though, guys, I have to remind you about the Patreon. Patreon.com/generallynerdy. That is the place to go to get all of your extra nerdy bits. There are 5 tiers. You can jump on for just $1 a month is the lowest tier, and that dollar gets you early access to almost all of the videos and a monthly Discord where we talk about the upcoming previews issues for comic books. Again, that's patreon.com/generallynerdy. 5 tiers. The higher you go up, the more stuff you get. Everything from what I just listed to a second Q&A Discord session every month. And then all the way up to producer credits on every episode that I produce. So go check it out, patreon.com/generallynerdy. And now, let's review some stuff. As always, all of the links to the songs we will be reviewing are down in the description, so you can go check those out for yourself, see if you agree with me, see if I am steering you in the right direction or the wrong direction. Everything transparent as possible. Go check it out down in the description. Links to all of these songs. And we've got 3 reviews this week. We're only doing the songs, so if the link takes you to a music video, we're not making commentary on the music video, just the song itself. The first song we're doing is new from Zayo. They just put out a record called Decoding Transmissions from the Mobius Strip. The name of the song is Transmission 1, I Saw the End. And for anyone who's been into the metalcore genre for any length of time, you know the name Zayo. It has some clout that it brings with it. It has some expectations that it brings with it. And I feel like this track did not meet those expectations. Yes, I understand that there's been a change in sound for the last few records. I also understand that they haven't been for a while a Christian metalcore band, like was the trend when they started. But there's still expectation. There's not a better word for that, and they just did not live up to it. Now, this, let me elaborate and explain to you what I mean by that. This is, judging by just this one song, this is indicative of a transition that they've been making for the last couple records into a kind of more death metal kind of sound in the vocal delivery and in the guitar work. There's definite signs of that. It's not being executed very well. Like, you can listen to a band like Bleeding Through, who has similar elements in their sound, and they, generally speaking, pull that off very well. Zayo, on this song, have not done that. There is structure issues in that it's just a simple pop structure. No. There are structure issues in that, yes, it's an interesting structure, but you can't really, unless you are like analyzing this song, you don't hear a whole lot of those section changes because the guitar work is so similar from section to section, with the exception of the slower bridge, the more melodic bridge. It's not ABC. Pop song structure. It's more ABC, ABCD. So that I can appreciate, but if you have to strain to hear the different sections, something is wrong. And in this case, I feel like it's 2 things that are very wrong. I've already mentioned the guitar work needs to be a little more varied. There needs to be more dynamic, but the production is mud. This is the definition of auditory mud. It's not It's not totally crap because, again, if you are really listening, you can hear the different sections. But if you're just casually listening, if you're just like you have it on while you're driving to work or whatever, you're not paying attention, and it just doesn't come across as well as they want it to. Vocally and lyrically, this isn't the greatest example of Zao's output either. This vocalist has pretty much one trick. He's a one-trick pony. Let's just put it at that. At least, again, just on this song, I know there's better, and that's probably why this is so disappointing, because I know they've done better work than this in the past. Let's jump into the scores so we can break this down a little bit more in detail. First is the general score. This is all of the objective things that we're not going to cover in the other two. So objectively, production-wise, the guitar work itself, we'll get into that a little bit more in the writing score, but general score, 60 out of 100, because this production and the other dynamics that are missing in this song, I feel like there was so much squandered potential with this, and it's really disheartening for a band with that name power, with that draw, like Zao. Next is the genre score. We have a 68 out of 100 for the genre score. Genre-wise, you've got two genres that you're splitting your difference, and I've given you already one band that does that well. This is not that band. Bleeding Through definitely uses those death metal elements a lot better than Zao does here. It just sounds like mud. So we're looking at a 68 out of 100. Writing is the one place that I feel like this does shine, as much as you can say this song shines. The writing, it is a more complicated structure, and again, you have to really be listening to it, but that's more production issue, less writing issue. The dynamics, again, on the guitars between the sections could be a little more distinct, but if you're listening in, there are distinctions, just not as many as there probably should be. So writing, we're looking at a 78 out of 100. I just wish that dynamics is the name of the game when you're in an aggressive style of music like this, and this just didn't have them. And then the last score is enjoyability. This is, again, the one that's super subjective. This is this a good song to listen to? Ish. I like a genre. In that genre, I will recognize what is mediocre, but even the mediocre bits, I will still like. So that probably pushed this enjoyability score up a little bit. We're looking at a 70 out of 100. It's not... The issues that I have with the song are not going to break the song, are not going to deter even moderate fans of Zao. But somebody who's just getting into this band, somebody who knows the name but not the music, this is going to turn them off of it. So 70 is really as high as I could go with this enjoyability. It's not terrible. It's definitely a listenable track, but again, it's pretty off-putting if this is your first experience with metalcore. So total is 276 out of 400. Not the greatest. Next is a band that we talked about a couple weeks ago, Born of Osiris. This is another track off of their new album. The album is The Simulation. The name of the song is Under the Gun. We talked about their music video a couple weeks ago, and now I want to do just a song off of the record. I listened to a few more tracks off the record. This was one of the better ones off of it, so that's why I chose it. I do really, really like Born of Osiris. I want to put that out there, right out on Front Street, just because that's... There's not great things in this review. It's a good song. I will also preface it with that. It got a B in the enjoyability rating, so there's that. Now, the song itself... for the last few records, I believe it's been 3 records since Jason Richardson quit Born of Osiris. They have been trying to fill that void, because those are some pretty big shoes to fill. Jason Richardson is a brilliant guitar player when it comes to this style, this genre. And the genre in my book anyway, is something along the lines of metalcore meets new wave of American heavy metal. So Lamb of God meets, I don't know, Bleeding Through, let's say. So there's been a little bit of a gap, I feel like, and in this song specifically, to a lesser degree the rest of the record, this song though I feel like is the best example of them filling that gap with the synthesizer, and filling that gap very well. I really dug the synth work on this. The guitar, in comparison to previous Born of Osiris work, is lacking, though saying that is like saying the Ramones' second record is slightly less punk rock than their first record. It's not less punk rock at all. It's just not the same quality, you know what I mean? And that's just a really weak example, but that's kind of what I'm trying to express here. Is the guitar work is still intricate. The guitar work is still what you would expect from Born of Osiris. It's just down a couple levels from the peaks that they hit with Richardson. So filling that void with the synth, I feel like, was a good idea. You don't get the same end result, but the theory is still the same. So I really, really like that. I also really like their play with dynamics. It's one of the reasons why Born of Osiris is one of my favorite bands from the last few years, because they know how to play with those dynamics, and they know how to use juxtaposition very, very well, as is evidenced about halfway through this song. We get a melodic passage instrumentally, but we have this really harsh vocal over the top that shouldn't work, but really, really does. So let's jump into the scores real quick while we're on this high note, shall we? General score here, the thing that I think killed this the most is the guitar work. They made up for it with those synthesizers, but you lose a lot of the bass guitar work. I feel like this production is a step down from their last record, so we're looking at an 88 out of 100. There's a lot of better examples of Born of Osiris's work. I don't think there's a better example on this record, though. I think this is probably the best track off the record. Next is genre. Again, somewhere between metalcore and new wave of American heavy metal. That's where this band sits, and again, they have done better. If this is your first Born of Osiris song, then you're gonna say, this was okay. So this is kind of the top of the mediocrity pile. Though, if you go back and listen to previous records, that they're almost front runners in this quasi subgenre that they're kind of a part of. So 85 out of 100 for genre. It could have been so much more solid. And then we're talking about writing, and this is easily where these guys excel. Like I said, they know how to play those dynamics. They know their strengths, and they play to them. Let's say that. And that is evidenced the most in this song by the interesting use of those synthesizers. So writing, we're going with a 90 out of 100. You can hear sonically all of the different sections. They make sense together, but there is a distinct feel to each verse and to each pre-chorus, or however they're structured, whatever they consider each part. There's a distinct feel to each of those parts, and I feel like they did that very well. So yeah, 90 out of 100. Enjoyability, I kind of gave this one away. It's a B. It's an 85 out of 100. Enjoyability, I dig Born of Osiris very, very much. This is not the best Born of Osiris stuff. This is honestly probably the worst Born of Osiris that I've heard. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, because it's totally a listenable record from the 5 songs I've listened to at this point. Totally a listenable record, just not their best example of what they can do. So 85 out of 100 for the enjoyability, which brings us to a 348 out of 400. Not a bad score. And then the last review this week is Blueface. Bleed It is the name of the song. Again, link down low in the description. I never heard of Blueface before about a week ago, a little over a week ago. Never heard of them. The group that I manage was potentially going to get to open for them, so I figured, what the heck, let's listen to something. And oh man, I don't understand a lot of modern hip-hop. This is the glaring example of that. I really enjoy some of it, Kendrick Lamar and such. Absolutely, I'm down. This was bad. The production on the beat is mediocre. The beat itself is a little bit of a head nodder. There's a little bit of, all right, I can feel that. But the vocals and the lyrics just shoot that all to hell. So, what do I mean by that? Lyrically, this kid wants to revive gangster rap. That, I don't see that being commercially, I don't see that being really a crowd moving element at all anymore. I feel like that's a dead art for good reason. So that was disheartening, but then his flow, his delivery, his actual vocal performance was just bonkers. Was just, at some points he's right on rhythm, he's hitting that, he's in that groove, and then he decides he has to add 3 more words to a line and just shoots that all to shit. Just absolutely stomps all over this beat and completely ignores it at times, and is just up and down and left, and it's just not good. Let's get into the scores. So general score, there is nothing about this that is good. It's not terrible either, so it's probably a little bit higher than maybe some people would give it. I'm looking at a 50 out of 100. It's not good. But again, it's not terrible. There is definitely an obvious potential here, just wasn't lived up to. Next, we're looking at genre score, which is a 60 out of 100. I can see where this fits. I can't really pinpoint a name for the genre, for the subgenre, I guess, because obviously it's a rap song. But I can see how kids can get into this. A very small selection of kids, but nonetheless. But it still is not a shining example of anything. So 60 out of 100. Writing, again, I honestly, I feel like I was even a little too generous with a 50 out of 100 for the writing, because he just completely disregards his beat. Just completely, I don't have to rhyme on the beat. Like, what? That's not what rap music is it? 50 out of 100. Moving on. Enjoyability. Like I said, the beat is slightly infectious. There are moments of this where you start to see, okay, there's a pattern here right before he completely erases the pattern. You can kind of start to see, all right, I know where he's going. So 65 out of 100 for those few and far between moments of this song, which gives us a total of 225 out of 400. Possibly my lowest score ever. I don't know if much could get lower than this, unless it's just absolute garbage Yoko Ono screaming into a microphone for 3 minutes. But that, guys, is where this episode ends. What did I miss? What should we talk about next week on the music episode? Let me know in the comments down low. If, though, you want to go deeper in the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net. You can go find all of the social media links. You can go find the General Store tab across the top of the website. It says General Store. You can go get your nerdy swag over at the General Store on generallynerdy.net. There's also all the free writings. I'm working on some more stuff that's going to be going up there here in the next few days, so keep your eyes posted to the website, generallynerdy.net. If this is your first time at Generally Nerdy, then definitely click that subscribe button, or follow if you're watching on Facebook. You can click the like button if you like this episode, or let me know if you didn't like the episode. I ain't mad at you. If you're falling behind in your nerd news and you want to catch up, you can click or tap that box right there to the left of my face to do that. But before we go, before you click boxes and visit the website, guys, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.